90 academic years ago, the Appalachian published its first print newspaper. The paper published its first issue on October 9th of that year and was endorsed by the student body, both socially and financially, a month later, on November 1st, 1934.
I know there's been a lot of progression over the years. You know, at one point the paper was voted on by students, and it was as like a test, like, hey, we're testing this out, and you know, it eventually became a thing.
This was a big moment in the history of the university, which at the time was still named Appalachian State Teachers College. The founding of a student newspaper, some felt, was the moment of arrival for the institution. The student newspaper signified the 30-year-long evolution from a small wooden shack from which the college was founded to a, quote, institution the state of North Carolina is proud to possess.
We've reported on some really big things over the years, and a lot of the people before me, whether it's an editor-in-chief, a graphics editor, photographer, reporter, news editor, like whoever it may be, every single person who has been a part of this paper has contributed in some way, shape, or form.
You know, one of the biggest things that we were reported on while I was there was 9/11. So in 2001, we were preparing for our next day newspaper. And so what was really cool was all of the things that we learned through the newspaper, it all just kicked in. When the first plane hit the building, we didn't know exactly what was going on. Was this just an accident? But once the second plane hit, everybody went into journalism mode.
But my favorite experience wasn't us getting those tags. It was working with about 5 editors in the editors-in-chief office. And we were all working until like the student union closed. We were just like all on the same document together. And I think in that moment, while it was like a very serious story we were doing, it was just so cool to see all of us just kind of step in, everyone like come into the newsroom office and just like work, talk with sources. And I kind of like just stepped back and just like saw everyone working. And that was just a really cool experience.
I think the biggest thing that came out of it was Helene. And it was really hard. It's still really hard for me. A lot of the stories I wrote like still kind of haunt me. Like there was one with like the death of a child, and that one like still really gets to me, and I still like am very bothered by it, and it's definitely a part that I don't love. But being able to be the person who cares enough and like wants to hear enough, even if like that upsets you, it's an honor and it is a privilege, and it's something that like I don't take lightly at all.
The very founding of our paper, the very audience from which it draws support and exists in dedication to, is wrapped up in the spirit for our school and a spirit for the land on which we exist. Since 1934, we have dedicated this paper to the fair reporting of news, a facilitation of ideas and discussion, and championing the interest of our community and our readers. As another student wrote over 90 years ago, the paper is, quote, the instrument by which the school is linked with the community which it attempts to serve. It is the band which holds the student body, faculty, and parents of the students in one great assemblage.
I cannot tell you how much the Appalachian has influenced my life, from making me stay in college for one thing and feeling like I belong there. That is to me the most wonderful effect that working for the Appalachian can give anybody, is this is my place, this is who I am, where I am.
I think it's easy to like underplay our role and undervalue the power of like a journalistic voice when people, you know, I was talking to a girl the other day and she kept calling it the little newspaper. I was like, all right. But I think, you know, all I do basically every day is respond to emails, texts, calls, whatever, and sit down face to face with people and let them talk for 30 minutes about something that they're incredibly passionate about, really angry about, love so much, or whatever it may be. And I love being able to fill that role. And I think everybody that I talk to who's a reporter here, that's the part that they love a lot, is being able to like sit down with somebody and not do the whole like, you know, how was your day, how's the weather, and blah, blah, blah. It is just like straight to like what they need to have said.
Even today, we hear stories of community reliance on our paper. Students and locals alike trust us to know what's going on. When Hurricane Helene struck our community, people turned to us for information, for resources, for some kind of understanding of the incomprehensible. And because of our close connection with our community and our dedication to it, we are able to provide them with what they needed. In this respect, the Appalachian is very much the same institution it was when it began, but in practice, we're very different. To start, the Appalachian was first printed and published twice a month. Then at our height, we were printing and publishing twice a week. Nowadays, we publish at a much more manageable pace, monthly, allowing us to do specialized publications, such as our Black History Month edition, which won second place for Best Magazine nationwide in 2025, and our Hispanic Heritage Month edition, which won first place for Best Newspaper nationwide in 2025.
So in September of 2023, the Appalachian published its first ever Hispanic Heritage Month themed issue. And that was the first of its kind, but also another little fun thing about it was I applied for a grant from the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion during the time in which I was granted it. It was $1,000, and with that $1,000, we used that money to publish this special themed issue in Spanish as well. So that was the first time we really used translators to publish content in Spanish specifically for print. And with that, it was just a really great thing on a personal level, just because I am Hispanic, and it means a lot to me knowing that I was able to give back to the community in some way, as well as all the editors and people who contributed to this paper.
So my name is Emily Broyles. I graduated from Appalachian State in 2022. I was a member of the Appalachian from 2018 to 2022. And I also was the first person of color and Latina to be editor-in-chief at the paper. My mom is from Venezuela. My dad is from North Carolina. So I come from two different cultures, and I didn't really think about that until I was like in the paper. I knew that I wanted to amplify different voices on campus, but I didn't really think about what it would be like for me to be in the role. So under my tenure, we did a Black History Month edition. That was the first of its kind. We're really excited to push that out and support the sources and the students that have been just so eager to work with us on these really intense stories, catering to their community, getting the word across. So that was really special.
29 years ago, we launched our website, which is updated every single day with news stories. Our digital publications on Hurricane Helene, including our photo galleries and constant resource and recovery updates, won us Best in Crisis Coverage for 2025. Today we have desks that certainly didn't exist at the time of the paper's founding, including a multimedia desk, which is how you are watching this right now. Hey there. An enterprise desk that focuses on long-form, in-depth journalism, and a social media desk, because social media, exists now. And a translations desk, so that when we say that we aim to serve the interests of our community, we can honestly say that means all of our community.
It's really just great to see that the Appalachian continues to really focus on the students and what they need as far as the news. It's a lot different now than it was 20 years ago. You have everything at your fingertips with the internet. AI is coming on board. So it's like, how does student journalism, or how does journalism in general really continue? Where do we go from here? So it's great to see you taking into account where people are today and what the needs are as far as student journalism.
We haven't done all of these idealistic things without challenges. COVID-19 forced us, like everywhere else in the world, to rethink our entire publication strategy. During that time, we turned our focus to digital production, using our social media accounts and website to communicate critical updates about the pandemic. But just as importantly, everything else that was going on at the same time. As things slowly returned to normal adjacent, we began to think of new paths forward. We brought back print, simply because we felt it was important, but on the monthly schedule that has made us so successful. We also increased the number of digital newsletters we sent out to 2 each week. We came out of COVID-19 changed, but stronger than ever. Today, student newspapers face challenges that none of them quite expected they'd have to face. There are commandments coming down from the higher powers of government dictating what different institutions can say, and more importantly, what they cannot say about diversity, religion, education, equity, war, and justice. And all of these institutions are playing ball. App State is playing ball. How many organizations on our campus are going to be given the ultimatum to play ball or pack it up and go home? Will there be another 90 years of history for this newspaper to live? Or will it go away and there will be no one to report that even happened? It's uncertain. We're all uncertain.
Whatever fears that there might be do kind of get assuaged when you look at the history of the Appalachian in our 90 years. And, we were in that room for 30 years. We're not in it anymore. We had the morgue for 30 years. We might not have it anymore. Whatever gets thrown at us, we'll be okay. We can figure it out. And there's a ton of different examples out there of other student news groups who've had the same things happen to them, and they've made it out, completely fine. So think we're in a unique position where we are able to kind of embolden our reporting, empower our reporting, and stay steadfast in the face of any changes like that.
It's our job as journalists to, kind of hold people accountable, find those answers that people are asking questions about, because if no one else will do it, we will.
But these are, of course, hypotheticals. We don't know what will happen the next year, the next 10 years, or the next 90 years. Something we do know is that we're going to change. The country is not the same as it was. App State is no longer Appalachian State Teachers College. The way we run our paper just in the last 5 years is drastically different. All of you in this room are and will be drastically different. However, another thing we know is that ever since its first publication, this newspaper has been the Appalachian. Our name has not changed, not in the 90 years we've been around. And that's who we exist for. The student, the community member, the mountain hermit who comes to town for groceries and to pick up a newspaper once a month. We exist for the Appalachian. And we will continue to work and ensure that it always remains that way, to preserve the history of this institution, the role it serves in the community, and all the stories waiting, no, needing to be told. We will remain the Appalachian.